But it's quite interesting on that score that Tamisha has told us about Grand Parade Investments. It's only 5 days late because 5 days ago, Business Day newspaper had the story that they were going to be looking, or Grand Parade was looking to do a deal with Piedmont Global. I guess the pressure on Grand Parade has mounted to the degree that they've now come out with an official announcement. Well, maybe they could have come out a little earlier next time, Mr. Adams. But joining us now to unpack the numbers on the company that did worst on the JSE this morning are joint CEOs Brett and Mark Levy. The company, of course, is Blue Label Telecoms, well-known brothers, about the only joint CEOs who survive nowadays, apart from Standard Bank. What do you? It's okay to be brothers and to be joint CEOs, I guess, but have you seen any other joint CEOs who've succeeded?
Not, I haven't seen it, but for us it really works well. You know, I have a specific job and description that I do in Blue Label. Mark does what he does, and I think it's great working with your brother and great partnership. We work really well together.
So who gets blamed for the share price decline today?
Mark.
I was going to say Brett.
It's down heavily, nearly 7%. I guess you've got to see it in perspective. You're up 33% in the past year, but it is an indictment on the numbers.
You know, if you strip out the once-off that we received and look at our HEPS numbers at a double-digit growth of 17%, we feel that our results weren't bad. I think the market may have expected more. You know, we had another dividend which was almost 10% up. Our cover ratios improved from 2.95 to 2.5. So everything is in good stead. Our cash reserves are good. We have a zero-geared balance sheet, so we're not quite sure why the market negatively reacted to this.
Maybe I can help you. Mexico?
Sure. Well, look, Mexico is in its building phase. You know, we're already on 60,000 points of sale. If you just look at our intention is to have 140,000 devices, it's probably equivalent to almost all the banks, the top-tier banks in terms of points of presence or transacting devices.
Mark, you've dropped another 51 million in this period. Where does the hockey stick start turning around?
Well, we anticipate similar losses for the next financial year. And then the following financial year, you'll see the hockey curve change significantly into a profit scenario.
I guess what would concern, and perhaps, Brett, you can come in here, is that there was lots of hype around India. When you moved into India, it looked exciting, but nothing seems to be really moving there.
I think it's a little bit different to nothing. I think it's taken us a lot longer. You know, in South Africa, just to put into perspective, is when we launched in South Africa, we had massive margins to play with. So it gave us the ability to roll out what we needed to roll out, but at the same time make profit. And that's why, literally from the first year, we were profitable in South Africa. In India, we had the same concept, the same vision, which we still do today. There are really big differences without the same margin. So in building out these networks in both India and Mexico, I think the one thing that we weren't ready for is the amount of time it would take us to get to this level. So from a Mexican perspective, you know, all on budget to what we budgeted to lose, all on budget to what we want to roll out. Yeah, but I think you're right. I think it's definitely taken us longer. But the vision of building a virtual distribution, I can tell you, has never looked better. The world is definitely moving towards prepaid, both from a consumer point of view and definitely from a supplier point of view.
You say on budget, yet in the results you talk about Telcel, the dominant player in Mexico, actually cutting your water off for a period of time by saying they're not going to give you the amount of kick, what do you call it? Rebate, as you would have got before. Was that also planned? Did you anticipate that?
We didn't anticipate that, actually. So we're expecting.
How can you still be on budget if you didn't anticipate that?
Because the losses, when they came in, we actually slowed down the rollout. So we were meant to be on a bit more than 60,000 for the year. Slowed down the rollout in order to meet our budget so that the losses were in line with what we had planned.
So you adjusted the plan accordingly.
But just to add to that, Alec, is that we've signed major agreements with one of the major acquirers in the world, you know, Visa, MasterCard. We'll make a big press announcement shortly, and one of the largest banks. So people are looking to utilize our footprint to do a lot more than just airtime. So you'll see in the future much more financial types of transactions, debit and credit card processing coming through those environments.
Well, you're so well positioned, and you've shown that by moving into the prepaid electricity side, which the numbers there are very exciting.
Very, and we see significant growth in perpetuity. You know, there's 9 million meters. We believe they can go to 18 million meters. So from that point of view, you're seeing organic growth, compounded growth on an annual base. We bought a ticketing company, so the ability to start vending tickets much more or a lot easier and eliminate that friction point of going out to buy a ticket where it's not convenient for you. You know, people are commuting to buy a bus ticket, commuting to buy a soccer ticket. If we can eliminate that and make it as frictionless as we've done for electricity and airtime, we're quite sure that we're going to stimulate spend.
Another big move was in the pinless top-ups. What exactly is that?
So in electricity, we act as the agent and not the principal, which means we're really just a throughput from the municipalities to the meter. So we did 7.2 billion rand turnover, but you won't see it in our revenue line. You only see it in the gross profit. What's happening now in airtime is we've created a pinless top-up as well. So what happens is you don't account, we act as the agent and not the principal, whereas we top up the phone of the consumer directly, and therefore we act once again as the agent and don't bring it into our revenue line.
How do you top it up?
So it's remotely, directly from the iron platform of the network into the cell phone itself, so there's no PIN generated for it. So what happens is if you have a look at our revenue just straight, you'll see only a 1% growth. But when you add in the pinless top-up, because it's just a different mechanism of how we actually distributing it, our revenue growth for the year was 6%.
All right, now you're talking about numbers, and the big number for me that scares me, as it did with one Gary Porritt, if you recall, a company called Tygon, is the cash flow statement. Your cash flow statement is a 1 billion rand reversal from positive 528 to negative 440. What gives me?
I think you've got to look at what happens with money in the bank. So when we listed, we were getting 12.5 to almost 13% interest. We're now to around about 5.5%. So we'd like our money to work better. It's pure maths. So if we can go to an operator, let's use 6% as a round number, and say, listen, if we buy 3 months worth of stock, we effectively lose 1.5% in the bank. If you say, give me 2%, I'm 0.5% better. So you can't just look at the cash, you must look at the cash utilization. So if you look at our debtors, we increased our debtors, affording more credit to our top customers. If you look at our stock holding grew by 1.3 billion. And you look at our cash.
That 1.3 billion, was that the bulk inventory purchase you're talking about?
Correct.
All right,
so if you actually look at the cash, you've stock debtors bank, 2.5 billion.
Arbitration. We haven't got much time left. I'm being shouted at in my ear here. What is going on with all these laws? Are you making the lawyers rich? Yeah. Are you making them rich at your shareholders' cost?
No, unfortunately, the lawyers are the only ones that get rich, but there's not much more we can say on it. The arbitration is set out.
What's the upside?
The upside for us is obviously we started on a process a year or 18 months ago, on a process that we believed in. You know, Multilinks did cancel a contract 18 months into a 10-year contract, and I don't believe we thought of any upside or downside. We just thought what was right and wrong. So the arbitration is set out for February of next year, and hopefully for both Telkom's sake and our sake, it will put an end to this and a way forward for both of us.
So the upside in financial terms?
Look,
how much could you get back?
The claim is large. It's over $400 million. Blue Label is a shareholder of a consortium. We don't own it 100%. So without speculating, I don't know. The courts will decide exactly.
What percentage do you have of the consortium?